Hello everyone, welcome to this introductory guide in Microsoft Word. In this video, we're going to cover everything you need to know to get started with this powerful word processing tool. You can probably tell by my background, I'm at home, shared office space wasn't working out, so I took all my recording equipment home, hence the sort of delay of this video being recorded. But let's go ahead and dive in. So you can see I have Excel, PowerPoint, and Word pinned down here. On Windows, we can actually do this. We search for an app. We can right-click on that app, and we can say pin to start and pin to taskbar. So the taskbar is right down here, and these are where I put apps that I frequently access. And then we also have, so the start menu is right here, and so you can see those apps pinned there. Admittedly, I don't really make much use of the start menu pinned apps, just the way I work, whatever works for you, right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and open this up. And you can see when I open it, I'm brought to what is called the Backstage view. And you'll see I have up here, I have new blank document. I have some different Word built-in templates. So if I click more, you can see you have all these different report and memo templates that you can use. They even have like a word tour and things that kind of help guide you through the use of different features. And then you can see some of my own personal templates up here. And I'm going to just select new blank document here. So now we are, we have a blank document open. I have this kind of zoomed in, but we have a blank document open, and you can see kind of a dense interface, and it can be a little bit overwhelming at first. And that's because Word is much like Excel and PowerPoint, is sort of the leading industry grade standard for a word processor. And so what has happened over time is they've created a really dense feature set to accommodate everyone's needs. And so I would say, you may only get a lot of value out of like 20% of Word's features, but somebody out there really needs those other features. And so that's why there's so many options. But I'm going to try to explore the really high value features in this video with you. So first of all, we have, this is called a ribbon interface up here at the top. So what they've done is they have broken this up across different tabs. So we call this area up here. I actually have a diagram, very dense, so don't be scared. But this is the ribbon up here at the top, and it's broken up across different tabs. So they're kind of the broadest, most general way of organizing your options. So I can assume home is actually where the most convenient, frequently accessed actions and settings are. Insert would be where you go to insert things, be they a table, pictures, shapes, icons, or even things like charts or audio or something. Then we have a draw tab. I don't particularly use that. If you're on a tablet, maybe you would. We have a design tab where we can actually apply sort of built-in document formatting. We can customize and save our own, and we can even customize. You can see here's a color scheme that I created for writing lab documents. I actually have lab fonts and styles and colors all pre-set up over here that I can access through the design tab. We have a layout tab, which, like the name suggests, helps you control the layout of pages, of the document as a whole, or even of just sections of a page. References tab, this is where you find all the stuff that's really useful when you're writing reports. They have this whole citation manager built in, which is cool, and we'll be exploring that in the lab. And they also even have this table of contents feature, which can automatically build out a table of contents for you. Mailings isn't a tab I really particularly use or find value in teaching. I wouldn't even know how to teach it because I'm just not very familiar with its features. And then the review tab is where we go and we have all kinds of settings for helping us check our spelling and grammar, or controlling the vocabulary, maybe finding better synonyms for our words. And something that people use a lot institutionally, like on Teams and stuff, is they turn on tracking. That's something that can help when you're working on Teams. We use it a lot in one of my committees. And then what someone can do is, when you have shared access to a document, you can accept someone's change, and it sort of loses that formatting, or you can reject it and even leave like a comment. So you can select over something, you can actually leave comments as well. This is something that you can also do in Google Docs. So a lot of the features kind of transfer. And then lastly, we have, well, not lastly, you can see I have a help tab as well. Stop showing that. Okay. But the view tab, this is to control how we view it. And we have a read mode. This is nice when you're wanting to read a document as if it's a book, because it restricts you from being able to edit the document. And you can use these left and right arrows, which I know are really kind of faint and hard to see, but they're over here. You can use those to kind of turn the pages of the book, so to speak. Now I can go back, let's go to edit document, and that puts me back in the view that you'll probably use a vast majority of the time, which is the print layout. And then there's also a web layout, which I don't particularly find helpful. Now these three layout options, they're also down here on this area at the bottom called the quick access. This is called the status bar. So this bottom area here has a scroller to control the zoom. And what's cool is you can press control and scroll up or down with your mouse wheel. And that's actually a really smooth, fluid way to zoom that I like to use a lot. You have your scroll bar over here on the right hand side. And let's see, focus, I'm not sure. Okay, so focus kind of puts in a full screen view. Then we can take it out when we move our cursor back down there and toggle that again. And they've even added an accessibility assistant that you can just get to conveniently down there that can help you make your document accessible to screen readers and people who are visually impaired. So let's go ahead and talk about what else is here. And I know there's a lot to this thing. Number one, we have, you can see up here, this area at the very top, this is called the title bar. And so the title bar lets you title the document. And this will allow us to set the file name. So let's call this Word Intro Document. So this is a good place that you can just click up here. You can also get to this by clicking File, Save, and you can have the same sort of view here. And this document is still not saved, so if I made changes, they would be lost right now because I haven't saved it somewhere yet. So what I need to do is choose a location. By default, if OneDrive is connected, it recommends that up at the top. And then it might also recommend folders that you've accessed very recently. Now, if you want the full file menu, you'll have to click More Options here. And then you get this very dense view. I don't particularly like this, where these are like Microsoft Teams that I'm a member of, and I have kind of this annoying view of folders I clicked on, like this one. I don't remember last time I clicked on it. So I don't find this particularly helpful. I usually go down here to Browse, and then I get to see what I like, which is a file manager, where I have my OneDrive storage here. I can see the different drives that I have on the computer I'm on. I get to see the folders in my home folder that I use all the time up here. So these folders or the ones on my PC in these different drives here, and I'm specifically pointing out these first several drives, those are only saving on this computer itself. Now, network drives, that's actually saving on a drive that's connected over a network. But in order to save it to the cloud, we need to choose an option like OneDrive. And so I'm going to choose that. And then I have a folder here. And let's make a folder for, I'll press Control-Shift-N as the shortcut to make a folder. Or I can right click, I can say new folder. And I can say Word, Lab, Intro, or something like that. Hit Enter. And I'll just save my file right inside there. And when I do this, what you're going to notice is now AutoSave turns on up there. So this is like a toggle. I don't really know why you would want to turn this off. I guess maybe if you disconnected, went offline. But when this is toggled on, we know that this must be living in some cloud storage location, probably in OneDrive. And we can see where the file is saved at by going to File. And then I'll click like Save a Copy. And then I'll click Browse. And that shows me where it's saved. So then I can just cancel out of that. That's a nifty way that I use to remind myself. I'm like, where did I even save this thing in the first place? Okay, so I've shown you, remember the tabs up here. So this is our ribbon, this whole area up here at the top. These are our ribbon tabs that divide it up into different major sections. And then these are called our groups. So this is the clipboard group, the font group, the paragraph group. They're like the next level of organization down in the taxonomy to try to group like things together for your sanity. And then these individual things, these are what we call the commands. So the align right command, if my text is over, this is text. By default, my text is aligned left. If I select this, and apparently indented, if I select this and click on this, then suddenly it gets aligned right. So a command performs whatever action it's supposed to perform. And some commands have, or a lot of them really have drop-down menus that have many different options. And so, for example, people like to apply all kinds of borders, like bottom border. That's different than an underline. So if you notice, a bottom border stretches across the whole line. Underline up here, if I click this, it stops where the text ends. And notice how the underline hugs that line tightly. And my customization options for the underline are more limited than they are for borders, it looks like. And then let's look at the bottom border. And let's say you want to kind of box things in. As you might see, I have like boxes to that I'll even make a different color to make them stand out in my lab instructions. I might do something like apply all outside borders to this. And then I can customize further. I can choose to have a shaded, I can choose the text color for the foreground. I can choose to have some kind of shading in the background. And we're never even limited to the default theme colors. We can choose any color we want. So I could do something like this, and you can see the changes. So, and I'm pressing Control Z to undo. Undo is actually also up here in the quick access toolbar, and redo. So this area up here that has the title bar, beside it, this is what we call the quick access toolbar, and it lets you customize it when you click this little arrow, so you can actually set commands that you like to use off. This is where we go to customize the ribbon. So you can see a list of commands here. It says popular. We could change that to something like full tabs. We could see, let's say you like to format pictures a lot. Well, you could do something like set the picture styles right up there at the top. I don't really play with this much because it's just a very dense kind of detailed thing, but you can create your own groups, and like if you're, you can make yourself a power user. You can set this up exactly how you need it. So let me rename this something like the picture editing group. I can even throw my own custom little icon on it, and now I can add the picture styles quick access menu there. Click OK. Oh yeah, okay, so I added it over here. So yeah, all kinds of options you can customize with this thing. So let's explore the highest value formatting, font formatting stuff you're going to be using a lot. So let's get a paper outline together, and then I can fill this in and have something to work with here. So what I can do using the styles gallery is I can click this little button, and if your screen is really squished, notice that these the ribbon menu options, the way it looks and what you can read and see changes quite a bit. So it keeps collapsing things, and eventually when you get really small, you have to like actually use these scroll arrows. So it's designed really well to try to always adapt to your screen size. But if you're like following along and you're like, well, I don't see that thing, or mine looks, a little bit squished, a little bit different, then it could be a matter of not having enough screen size to display everything. So anyway, let me apply the title style here, and then let me apply, let's say, a heading 1 style. So these styles that we're seeing, these are built-in default text styles. So if you don't want to put in any work and just use the defaults, that's fine. It's still going to make a decent looking document once you start doing that. Now, what's great about these styles is they actually get pulled into the navigation of the document itself. What I mean by that? Imagine this document, it's going to get pretty long. Let's see. Oh, I see what happened here. So let's format this as another heading 1. And this as well. And as this document gets longer, when you want to skip between different sections, it gets to be more of a headache to navigate. But by using these built-in text styles, heading 1, heading 2, title, these get pulled into our document's navigation. So when I go to view, I go to, view, and then we see this is the show group in the middle here, and check navigation pane. This shows me the different sections of my document where I've applied those heading levels. And so now I can skip between them. This even will pull in level 2 headings. So for casual use, and then maybe I could have another subsection that would be like generative AI professional use cases or something. But let's make this a heading level 2. And then you can see that show up down there. So let's say we want to actually change this formatting. We don't like the way this looks. Well, fortunately, we can customize this to look however we want it to. So we have our all of our fonts up here. Unfortunately, they don't provide a search bar, and so you're kind of stuck with this huge alphabetical scrolling list. And I'm like, it's 2026. Microsoft, come on, guys. But you do have a lot of nice font options. Default is Aptos, but we can choose from any number of different options. You can even install new fonts from Google Fonts and use those as well. Like Text Me One is actually one that I use in the labs that I installed from Google Fonts. And so let's try a serif font that I like to use called Georgia. So let's say this is more of the look I'm going for. Well, one thing that I can do is if I want this to be sort of the default document font, I can press Control A to select everything, and I can set this to all to that same font. But if I want this to be set as the document's default font, because right now it's set to Aptos, I can go over here to the design tab, and I can actually lock in that choice. So I can set the heading font to Georgia and the body font to Georgia as well. Or I could even choose a different kind of complementary font, maybe Times New Roman for the body. And then when I click save, I can give it a name like, I could just make this my Georgia one. And I made one in the resume lab. I made my own kind of serif resume font set of fonts. So then I can just start typing Georgia and get that to show up. And then I can choose the same here. And I click save. And then you'll get to see this is one of my presets here. And so you can save whatever presets you want. You see there's already, apparently I either made or at some point a APA report style. And now it did not change the font here. It kept it the same. But if I select over this, you'll see that now I have Times New Roman suggested by the theme font right at the top. And so that's really nifty. Okay, but let's say I want to keep changing some things. So I can change the font size up here. I can make this smaller, larger, however I want it. I can bold this. So here's the bold command. And I can also do a lot of these things I'm showing you with short keyboard shortcuts. So bold is Command B, underline is Command or Control U, italics is Control I. And all of these, you see they're getting applied just up here, right? Whoops. I just clicked into the document header. So then I can also just toggle those off as well. And let's say I get the style, and we do have different underline styles. Let's say I get the style the way I want it. So maybe, let's see. Maybe I have like a dark blue, and I'm like, that's it. That's how I want my title. Let's also center this. Well, what I can do is I can save this. So I can right click up here and I can say update title to match selection. And now for this document and this document only, then that's how my title style looks. But if I open a new document, it's going to apply the ones from the default document theming. So that's why it's using the Aptos display headings font, and it doesn't look anything like the one I just made. So that's kind of nifty that you can customize your own, and then you can override simply by clicking down on the styles drop-down launcher to expand the styles gallery, and you can right click and you can say update, insert style name here to match selection. So now I can do this all the way down if that's what I want to do. I can make this, this needs to be much smaller in my opinion. So there's 18, and I'm actually zoomed in. Maybe I want that to be bolded as well. I can press Control B there. And maybe now I want to lock that in, and I can say update heading 1 to match selection. And you see all the other heading 1s then change. And so that's another reason it's nice to use these text styles, is because when you want to change something, then everything that has that style applied will make that change. And so these areas of text where we don't apply any particular text style, they automatically are always this normal style up here. And the font of it adapts to whatever the document font is that you set on the design tab. So now what's cool is, let's say like you make the standard font size for this document is going to be 14. Well, you can come up here, right click and say update normal to match selection. And sure enough, everything gets pulled in like that. So I like to point that out because that just makes things really nice. You get things formatted the way you want it, and it's very easy to work effectively like that. So we also, I've shown you I centered this. We have left, center, right, and justify. So justify is one I don't use much, but sometimes you see this in like newspaper column layouts and things. It says distribute your text evenly between the margins. So let's try that on a paragraph and we can see what that does. So you can see it kind of stretches that out so that it lines up against the margins of our page. So what are the margins? These are what are creating this white space around the edges of every page. And we can adjust those as well in the layout group. So we go to the layout group, and right here in the, or layout tab rather, see I messed this stuff up too, in the page setup group, and it's on the very right. So these are normal where they have 1 inch on all sides. We can use narrow, or we can even customize our own. And so actually when I print a lot, I use narrow because I'm trying to maximize how many pages, or minimize how many pages I'm using rather. And you can also change your page's orientation, which sometimes it's more useful to design things like when I write a table for like a template for you guys to use. Sometimes I might choose this like widescreen or landscape view rather than the portrait view. Right, so you can change that there too. I missed one more thing I was going to show you on the home tab, and that is the find and replace. So you find this under editing. It's kind of in the middle, magnifying glass icon, but this gets used quite a bit. So you have find. So if you're trying to find a keyword, it actually pops open this navigation if you don't have it up. And you can search for keywords like pie, and everywhere where pie is used, it highlights it, it selects it, and I can actually jump between all of those. And so sometimes what I do when I'm writing a paper is I'll write insert, I might have like 10 different sources, and I'm like, I'll worry about the details of in-text citations later. For now, I'm gonna write something like insert Smith 2024 here. As like a reminder, because I'm in my flow right now. I can't be bothered. I can press Control F, which is just a shortcut to bring up the find menu. And when I have that text selected, it automatically puts it right there. And so if I had that used in 4 or 5 different spots in the document, I'd be able to jump across all of those places. And then let's say now I know what my in-text citation is supposed to look like. So I can press Control H, which is just a shortcut to this find and replace option here. Oops, Control H. And I could say everywhere where you find this, replace it with, let's say, Smith, comma, 2024. An APA style in-text citation. And now if I click replace, this does the first instance. If I do replace all, it's going to do that everywhere all at once. And so those are very useful. I tend to use those quite a bit. All right, but let's go ahead and let's look at what we have on the insert tab now. So let's say in this section of my paper, let's say cost benefit analysis here. Let's say right here, I want to create a table and show some of the good parts and the bad parts about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is super broad, so I'd probably want to either keep these very high level or talk about a specific kind of AI. But I can create a table very conveniently just right here. So I can drop this down, and if it's a small table, I can choose how many rows by columns visually. So this is in this case 6 rows by, or 6 columns by 4 rows. But then let's say my table, I need it to be even bigger than what's offered here. I can drop this down. I can click Insert Table, and then I can tell it exactly how many common rows or columns I want. So let's try this out. Let's say I have like 3 by 4, and oftentimes I'll get started with how many roughly I think I need, and you can always kind of select in here, right click and say Insert, and you can say Insert Columns or Insert Rows below, for example. If you added a column too many, you could select this whole column, or you can just right click inside of one of these cells, and you could say delete cells, or let's see, try that. Yes, you can change this to say delete entire row or delete entire column, and there you go. So tables are really nice to use in Word as well. And so I could have, like, you can imagine, or I could say negatives, maybe. Say positives. And then I could say, I don't know, conclusion or verdict, maybe. I could say negatives. Creepy, invasive at times. And I could keep on coming up, and then I could say positives. Useful for automation and streamlining tasks. So on. And then you have all kinds of table formatting that is really far beyond the scope of what I care for you to know. But you can learn it by simply playing around with the features you have to offer to you. So you'll have all these default table styles you can use. But you, like much of Word, these are all very fully customizable. So what else can we insert? Well, we can insert images for visual content. So I can go up here, I can choose pictures. And what's nice is you can choose pictures that are already on your device. So let's see. I just keep my signature saved for when documents come my way that need my signature. Just like that. And what's cool is on certain things that you insert, when you click on them, then you get this temporary menu appear up in the ribbon or temporary tab with all these different options. And so you can actually use these tools to make corrections to images, to apply these different picture styles to your images, and just a lot of nice customization options. You can crop them, and you can even set different effects, all kinds of stuff you can do with these. Now you have different ways that you can have images format. So if you imagine I paste this image here, you can see how it kind of just gets jumbled over there. Well, if I click on the image and click on this layout options, or go to picture format and look up here, I have the same thing. And there are different ways that you can have the image align. So square will push your text over to be on the same line and take up however much column width it has. And that's kind of nice for like maybe like almost like a newspaper column type design. And then we have several other options. Behind text will make it so that we can kind of move this wherever we want. And we might just have to add some extra white space. And then we have above text, which puts it in front. So that's very easy. So I can move this around. So different options for different purposes. You can also insert even more items. So icons, if this feature, it usually works through our license. There are some labs where sometimes this feature doesn't work, but you have lots of icons that you can browse and search for. So maybe I could say like study, and I get desk icons, I get books. Maybe I could say train, and I get, well, see, I wasn't thinking of real trains. I was thinking of like learning a skill, so maybe more like that. So that's a really nice feature. And you can also insert pictures from online. We'll be exploring using some of that when we do PowerPoint. So what other things can you insert? Well, we have headers and footers as well. So in an APA paper, one thing you'll notice is that it has a heading up here. I just got to the header. You can go over here to insert header, but I get to it usually by double clicking in the top corner, and then it will just automatically open that for you. And I can hit enter if I want to add some more space there. And what's cool is I actually have some different things I can insert besides just the document title. So first of all, I don't even have to manually type my document title. I can get it populated from the metadata. So if I go to File, Info, and come over here to Properties, click Show All, I can actually, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble seeing it. There's title. I can actually give it my title there. So the benefits and costs of artificial intelligence, and hit enter or click off of it maybe. And you can tag this as well. You can, you can do different things. You can even give this subject and this metadata. So this one gets automatically populated, but this metadata can help when you're searching for documents. But now when I back out of here, let's try this again. Instead of typing out my title manually, I can insert document info and click document title, and boom, there it is. And that way, if I come in and I change the title, it will update automatically there. Let's uppercase that. And let's go back to the header footer tab, and then watch what else I can do. I can hit the tab key on my keyboard, and I can insert a page number. And it actually lets me select where I want it. So there are different kind of styles that we can apply. I'll use this very tiny little one up here. And that actually got rid of my title there, so I'm not thrilled about that. Try that again. Current position, let's try this. There we go. And then if I click on it and hit my left arrow key to put my cursor on the left side of it, then I can hit backspace and remove some of those tabs so it's on the same line. And I can change, of course, if I want this to be bigger or smaller, I can set it however I want. And that's kind of nice because now I have this visual page numbering that's going to show up even when I export to a PDF for a nice scannable document. I can say go to page 2 and you have a page number there. And then we can also insert a table of contents. And once again, this is why I stress the value of actually using heading levels as opposed heading styles is what I meant to say, as opposed to just making text formatting that looks like a style. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's set this back to something like the normal style. And I could format this in such a way, so let's bold it. Let's apply a color. I'll do that dark blue that I was using. Well, maybe that wasn't. Anyway, I can make this bigger, and I could make it look identical to my level 1 heading there. But if you look at it, actually it's still normal because I haven't said, I haven't clicked on this to change it to the heading 1 style. And so if I look at my navigation now, what you're going to notice is that section disappears from my document. So that decreases the navigability of the document. Now, what that means is that when you export to PDF, it also decreases the navigability, and it makes your document less accessible to someone who's using a screen reader, but also literally anyone who is trying to read your paper. They want to be able to jump between different sections. They want to have a nice organization. So that's why I encourage you to actually use these built-in text styles, namely at least use the heading ones, because they give you those sections that break up the page. Because what we're going for is we want this to be good contrast. When we have images, we can actually even apply alt text for them. So I could come down here, I could say view alt text, I could say Ryan Haas signature. And now what I've done is I've improved the accessibility of this page. So lastly, what I was kind of getting, I kind of meander through topics. This is how I work. But what I wanted to show you was the other reason that using the heading styles is nice is because then when we want to do something like insert a table of contents, so that's on the references tab. Look at this. So let's choose automatic table 1, and it pulls in that exact structure from my heading 1 and 2s. You can tell this is a subsection from the heading 2 because it's indented over, and it gives us the page number. And then we could export this to a PDF. So I'll click Save as Adobe PDF if you have that. If you don't have that integration, you'll click Export, and you'll always have this sort of option here. So I could say this as report or whatever. You can choose the publishing options you want. Standard is usually what I select. If it's going to be somewhere where the size matters, like online, and I have limited storage, maybe I minimize the size if it's large. Usually I prefer standard because it looks better that way. Click publish, and then your PDF has been saved to whatever folder you chose to save it in. There we go. So now to test yourself, what do you know? That you can use the Home tab for all of your basic Word formatting, including that's where the Styles group is, where you can set all of those styles. You need to use heading 1s so that you have a same page navigation, and that's where a lot of your general formatting is. The Insert tab is where you go to insert images, graphics, even audio, all over there. And you've learned that you can even customize the layout, the margins, and so much more in Microsoft Word. I know just the anatomy of Word, all the terminology. You have the ribbon, the tab, the group, the command, the quick access toolbar, the status bar. It's a little bit much, right? But after you get familiar with that terminology and you start to get used to the flow of features that are important for what you're doing in it, then you're going to run laps around your peers in no time. So just get familiar with these features. You'll get practice, of course, in the lab, and then you'll be writing professional documents in no time. And your peers will be coming to you wondering how you manage your citations so seamlessly without ever leaving Word. All right.